Good evening and welcome to the Sanford Sewerage District Public Rate Hearing. Today is October 27th of 2022. My name is Nathan Hitchcock and I am the Chairman of the Board of Trustees. I want to thank you all for attending and tuning in today. This hearing is being held in accordance with Title I, MRS Section 406. We'd like to thank the Sanford City Council and the Mayor for allowing us to use their space today. Now what I'd like to do is introduce our Superintendent, Andre Brousseau, who will give a presentation today about the proposed rate increase, and after that we will hold for any further questions. So without further ado, Andre Brousseau. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. Last month I presented to the Board of Trustees a proposed rate increase to cover a revenue shortfall for biosolids disposal. Again, earlier this month I presented to the council a quick summary of where we were with our shortfall and how we're going to come about. So the only reason, the way to come about a shortfall is to raise rates. We recognize that this is not a great time to raise rates, but we do have to cover our expenses, and the expenses are elevating with the only option for disposal is landfill. So I have a quick presentation of where we are and where we're going here. So let me start with an introduction to our Board of Trustees. You've already met Nathan Hitchcock. We have Sumna Lorendo. Kevin Eaton is here amongst us today. Keith Patterson as well. Paul Demers is absent. Then we also have our appointed treasurer, David Willett, and our assistant appointed treasurer, Jennifer Roberts. We also have amongst our staff Mr. Tracy Goodwin, the office manager, and Ms. Lori Witten, the administrative assistant, amongst us today. So we're here today to discuss a little bit about the PFAS. So PFAS is an acronym. PFAS stands for the poly and perfluoroalkyl substances, otherwise known as forever chemicals. These are man-made chemicals. There's about 5,000 of these chemicals out there today. It was created by DuPont back in the 1940s, and it was first introduced in non-stick cookware. We all grew up with non-stick cookware. We know how wonderful they were, but now we know that the flaking Teflon that may have been incorporated into our food may have caused some complications. Some other products that we currently use that contain PFAS is, athletic clothing, food packaging, carpeting, furniture, cosmetics, dental products, firefighting turnout gear, firefighting foam, are just to name a few. And eventually these products make its way into the wastewater stream by little bits, inadvertently coming into our waste, but also with food packaging and stuff like that, they do enter our body, and we slowly release them through our everyday bathroom use. The 130th Maine Legislature this past April passed 3 bills. One that really affects us, which is LD 1911, prohibits any material derived from wastewater treatment not to be used on any Maine land. So we were in a beneficial reuse program with our compost facility. It was permitted through Maine DEP back in 2015, and we went live with that process in 2016. So we did sell our compost for a few years before we were shut down in 2022. The other bill that was passed is LD 1639, which is part of the solid waste stream that's plaguing all of the landfill operators throughout the state of Maine. So the construction demolition debris is used to bind the wet material, whether it's biosolids residuals or municipal solid waste in these landfills. So basically, the landfill operators have to build these cell structures so that they can build on top of them in the future. So that's a dilemma for all of the landfill operators, and it's increasing the tip-in fee for biosolids. The other law that was passed is 1875, which requires all leachate to be treated for PFAS. Leachate is the liquid material that percolates down through a landfill with precipitation and the liquid coming from the wet materials. So those are three laws that are greatly affecting wastewater treatment facilities throughout the state of Maine. Here's an overview of the Sanford Sewage District wastewater treatment facility. On the left-hand side, the polygon that is dirt, that's our 5.3 acre landfill. This overview picture was taken about 2006. You can see that we do have capacity in the landfill at that point in time. That landfill came online in 1983. That landfill is 10 feet deep to the bottom when you compare the outer perimeter road around it. Here's the road on the left-hand side. You can see one of the district's pickup trucks. You can see how full we are now. I would say that is probably somewhere 4 years ago. Here we are again. We were renting a bulldozer to spread our compost, and when we could not sell it. Here's an overview of the landfill again, and on the left-hand side is our compost facility that was constructed back in 2015 and online in 2016. Here's another view of the compost facility, and in the back of the compost facility is the secured landfill, and you can see how full the landfill is. Show a little video here of something we did these past couple of weeks. We were disposing of our finished compost in our landfill, so we hired a subcontractor. It's actually Dearborn Construction out of Buxton. So that's finished compost being disposed of in our landfill. We put up about 2,400 yards of the Class A material, something that was saving money overall because that material did not have to go to a landfill offsite. Excuse me. So here we are with 2021 compost numbers. So on the left-hand column, obviously, is the months in 2021, and then the yards of biosolids produced with wastewater treatment. So in the winter months is lower in volume, and then as we go out, as we move through spring and into the summer and fall, that's when we produce the most yardage with biosolids. And we converted that into tonnage. I wanted to show the Board of Trustees how much we would be paying if we had to ship this off-site, because of course we're going to be paying for the tonnage. On the right-hand column is the compost expenses. So when we make compost, it's sort of a recipe. So we buy shaven sawdust and wood ash, mix it with the biosolids, and these are our expenses every month, equating to $74,000 a year. This was one of the reasons why we decided to go with the compost facility for our biosolids management. It was a less expensive form of treatment reduction. And obviously, we're not there now with the passage of legislature, particularly LD 1911. This is a slide that shows what 12 communities in southern Maine are currently paying for tipping fees for their biosolids to go to landfills located in Maine. Most of them are going up to the Juniper Hill landfill just above Orono. The bottom graph is $85 a ton, and you can see to the far left, 2017 to 2022. This group of 12 was in a sludge consortium that were in a 5-year commitment to dispose of their biosolids. And on average, they were paying $85 a ton. You can see after 2022, the median price went up to $178 a ton. So that $111 ton, that is the city of Biddeford. Biddeford has a unique situation with a landfill here in the state of Maine, and they actually do their own transportation so they can keep their costs down. Yes? No. Here is the projected 2023 biosolids cost. I went ahead and provided our yearly expenses and revenue and what we had for net over expenses in the first column, moved it out 2020, 2021. Here's 2022. If you go down through this spreadsheet, you can see the weight of compost. We're just over 1,000 pounds per yard, or just over half a ton. With our compost production, we put that out, and with the addition of the amendments that we're putting in, or the recipe, it equates to about 10,000 cubic yards. That's a projection if we produce or treat as much as we did in 2021. So the yellow down the yellow down here shows what it will cost to dispose of our biosolids, compost into a secured landfill in the state of Maine. So we're at $453,000. We are confident that one of the landfills is going to give us a price of $70 per ton for tipping fee, and then our transportation costs are going to run about $28 a ton. That equates up to $453. So what we did was we put that $453 into the future budget that the Board of Trustees will be approving here in the next couple of months, our projected revenue, and then we're having about a $300,000 shortfall. This is the last slide, and this is one that I put together to show our customers what a typical bill looks like today's rates, which is $7.50 per 100 cubic feet of water. 100 cubic feet of water is equal to 750 gallons. So really simple math, that's 1 penny per gallon. Everybody needs to know that we do charge $25 per quarter for a service charge, and that covers some office expenses. It covers our meter readings from the water district and various other things. So this the far left column has cubic feet, and this the first one, 1,000 cubic feet, which equates to 7,400 gallons. That's a really low water consumption. So if we put that into our calculation, a quarterly bill is equivalent to $48. And if we multiply that by 4, that's $400. So what I have proposed to the Board of Trustees is to do a staggered 3% increase. So starting in January of 2023, we would implement a 3% increase to our rate, which would come down to $7.73 per 100 cubic feet. So I extended that out to typical usage, and the 8,000 cubic feet is a typical household of 4 with water conservation in mind. So typically they can see a bill around $175. Sometimes that's up around $200. And then multiply that out four times a year, we're around $2,500. Oh, I didn't get the right one in. Excuse me. Yep, I'll have to back that up. So this column right here is wrong. I got the wrong slide in there. Sorry about that. This is, sorry about that. Thank you, Tracy. So going into the second red column, here's what a 3% looks like at $7.73. Cost per day, which is typically 90 days in a quarter, and that all depends on the way the meter readings come in. Sometimes they're a couple of days over 90 days, and sometimes they're under 90 days. But on average, you can divide that by 90 and the cost per day. And then I jumped it out, so the second 3%, which would start July 1st of 2023, you can see what the costs are down with the 10 different consumptions. And then we ended on January 1st, 2024, with a 3% totaling 9%. So we go from $175 a year up to $189 a year. Excuse me, yes, a quarter, yes, thank you, David. The other rate increase that we plan to implement would be with our septage haulers. Our septage haulers right now are paying 9 cents a gallon for tip and fee to come into the treatment plant. We are imposing a 11% increase to our septage haulers, which equates to 1 penny per gallon. So the septage will go from 9 cents a gallon to 10 cents a gallon. So that is all I have for the rate increase presentation. See a couple of people in the audience. Do we have any hands up, Steve? No hands up on Zoom. Do we have any questions from the mayor?
We asked Dennis our question. Dave.
Yes, so we have Mr. David Parent, Superintendent for the Sanford Water District here. So thank you, Dave.
I can say something.
Sure.
You gotta have at least somebody in here.
Yeah.
So my name is David Parent. I'm the superintendent, Sanford Water District. I think you all know me. First off, the question they asked was just about meter readings. They were wondering how we read the meters now. We do read them differently. Andre and I have been talking about PFAS for, 4 or 5 years now, and
It
a
seems
lot
like
more.
yesterday, but it has been a couple of years.
It's been a while, and a lot more in the last year or two, I'd
Yes.
say. And what I'd like to say is that Andre has been involved in this issue at the state level. He was on the governor's task force.
Yes, I have a copy of the
PFAS.
report right here.
He was up in Augusta when they were debating this bill, trying to get wastewater utilities treated more fairly. I'm in contact with other water utilities across New England, through the New England Water Works Association. And Maine is the talk of the nation, because it is by far the strictest regulation that anyone has passed, and they are very surprised that happened in Maine. So I guess to sort of bring that all together, what I want to say is that I think Andre has done everything humanly possible to try and limit the impact of this. And what's happening at the state level is unfortunately beyond our control. Both the water and sewer district have worked throughout the pandemic to keep costs low and not do rate increases. I think your last rate increase was 2016.
Yeah, that was a three-tiered increase as well.
Yeah, so we've both tightened our belts, and I think people need to know that that was not an easy task to do over what has been, 6 years now?
6 years.
And in fact, you're not raising your rates due to spending in your budget. It's due to a regulation that was just passed that's forcing you on this, unfortunately. So thank you for all that you do as a fellow utility. I know what it's like, and it is not fun to have regulations passed that make you increase your rates and upset the customers. So thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. If I may add, as Dave said, I was a member of the Governor's PFAS Task Force that was formed back in 2019. We met 12 times up in Augusta. They were long meetings, 1 to 5, but we were on a deadline to create this 15-page report to be handed to the governor's office. So there were members, the Amanda Beal, Commissioner of Department of Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry, Michael Bellevue, Environmental Health Strategy Center, myself, Major General Doug Farnham from the Department of Defense, Veteran and Emergency Management, Lanny Graham, Maine Public Health Association, Charles Cross, Pulp and Paper Industry, Norm Labby, Public Drinking Water Professional, Janine Lambro, Commissioner, Department of Health and Human Services, Jeff McBurney, Biosolids and Residual Manager, a compost operation here in the state of Maine, and then the then Commissioner Jerry Reed of the DEP. So we had one of the points with this task force was to protect drinking water, whether it was public or private. So that was the number one goal, was to identify that. So this is public information, and I can hand it out to anybody if somebody has would like to take a look at this report. That's it. So, Steve, no questions from Zoom? Well, from the Board of Trustees, I think we could end our public hearing unless the board has a couple of questions. Yeah. Thank you, folks. And at this time, we'll be ending our public hearing for the proposed rate increase that should be voted on by our board at the next monthly meeting, which is November 14th, which is the second Monday